Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this edition of APEX's Women's Collective Office Hours. We're excited today to join us with Council Member Hongbin Gu, who was elected to the Town Council of Chapel Hill over in 2017. She is a faculty member of the UNC-Chapel Hill School of Medicine, and she received her PhD in mathematical psychology and a master's degree in statistics from UNC-Chapel Hill. She's an active researcher in autism and child development delays. She served on the Town of Chapel Hill Environmental Stewardship Advisory Board before being elected to the Town Council, and she has volunteered for the Chapel Hill Carrboro City Schools in its PTA, school improvement teams, and advisory boards. She's the former principal and current board chair of the Chinese school at Chapel Hill, and she's the organizer of the community culture event Light Up. She's been a Chapel Hill resident for more than 20 years, and she lives with her husband, 2 daughters, and 2 cats. And so please welcome Council Member Gu with us today. So Council Member, you have been in this office since 2017. What actually prompted you to actually go into public service, considering that you do a lot of your work in research? Can you tell us a little bit more about your personal journey into this elected position?
Yeah, well, I think in some sense, it is a gradual process that it really involves many years of community service. And I think I have reached to a point that I have connections with many organizations and have served in many communities. And in the work that I have been doing, I think that I have built that connections and the trust between me and other organizations. And through of course, through this process, I also get to know many of the issues that is going on in our town. So one of it, of course, is about our town's development. What is the direction that our town should be going? And of course, the environment and the climate change issues is very prominent for our town. I think many people probably know this Research Triangle Park in North Carolina is a hot spot for development. Like many other hotspot cities, that we are seeing rapid development in our residential housing market. But at the same time, a lot of people are complaining that they are less and less able to afford to maintain their residence in Chapel Hill, and many young people do not have the opportunity to be able to live in the town of Chapel Hill. So I think there are a lot of this discussions and debate in our town with regard to what is the direction of the town, how are we going to probably manage the pressure from the growth, but at the same time to make sure that our town have this expanded opportunities for all the people in our community. So this is more the local issues, and of course in the national scale, 2017 is the year that right after Donald Trump was elected to be the president. I think throughout that election, and I of course have a lot of conversations with both within my family and within the community, and we all have heard all the rhetorics against the immigrants. I just feel like that is not the direction of this country should be going. I think for me, myself, as an immigrant, I'm really concerned about the direction of this country. Of course, I do not have a national platform. I don't think that at the time that is my ambition. But at the same time, I feel like as someone who has been living in this community for 23 years, I have an obligation to do something and to do our parts as new immigrants, like many other generations of immigrants and before us, to really make the case that who we are and what we can do. And I think it's very important to do that. So I reached out to other community members, other partners that I have worked with in the past, and to discuss the possibilities for me to launch this campaign to run for the Chapel Hill Town Council. And I'm very glad that it turns out really well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's so important to recognize that you also understood what you wanted to do in terms of an impact for your community, and saw that opportunity in the city council as that race. Because a lot of times people wonder, well, what election should I look towards? What office should I be looking at? What kind of skills did you think you, and experiences, what kind of skills and experiences do you think you brought to the table when you decided that you were going to run for city council?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of times that people, or what is especially for the new immigrants coming to this country, well, I think of the one for those that are coming from China, who is not a democratic system, I think there is this gap trying to understand how this democratic system works in US. So there's definitely a barrier, and we need to overcome that barrier in order for the new immigrants to be successful, for them to launch a campaign for public office. So this is one side. So a lot of people, because they realize this barrier, that they just think, that's not part of that. This is not something that we're able to do. But I think that we need to see that we bring with us our own skill set. I think a lot of us coming to this country are starting from like as a student, or starting from like running a small business, as like opening a Chinese restaurant, or starting from very bottom of the society. And gradually we worked through the system. And I think a lot of us understand what kind of challenge that for the people who's an outsider and trying to be part of the community. So I think the idea of promoting the diversity, inclusiveness, and belonging, and like trying to expand the opportunities to all the members of the community. I think these ideas that we experiencing them, and we experiencing the pains of the barriers for those people like in the margin of the society firsthand. So I think that kind of experience is really, from my experience, is pushing me and pushing many of other colleagues that I know is also serving in the public office forward. We feel like we need to do something to really pushing this Asian American community forward and lift up where we are. We cannot only be the ones or always stay at the peripheral of the society, and we need to do something. I think I think lots of us like experienced discriminations, have experienced like how it feels like to be a marginalized community. So I think when we reach out to others and do our parts in trying to improve the life and the opportunities of all the other marginalized communities, I think it echoes with a lot of people. I think other things, of course, because I have the research background, so I think that, and of course, I understand that the many new immigrants from China or other Asian communities, especially when they come to this country as a student to pursue their graduate studies, they do have this background as engineer or as someone who are very good at doing research and doing data analysis. So I think it's very natural for us to get into this and trying to bring our skill set with us. And from my own experience, it turns out to be something that's very helpful, both during the campaign and after I won the seat and serving on the council itself. I think that my skill set I feel very comfortable in dealing with those policy analysis issues and always come up with a solution that is well-founded by data and evidence. I think that really wins respect from my colleagues over time.
Thank you for sharing that. I think one of the things that you've noted is that you've been a 20-something year resident of Chapel Hill. When you first started, was this something that you thought that you would be in this role in the future?
No, not at all. No, I did not come to this country with the goal of running a public office. I think I came to this country like many people and trying to be just in academia and pursue my graduate school. And then after I got my degree and just tried to focus in the small area of my own research. But I think over time, I realized that it is not as fulfilling to be only restrict yourself in that small circle. In US, this is an open society that everyone has an opportunity. And if you are willing to break the barrier and step out the small circle that you put yourself in, there are a lot of people and there are so many issues in the community that we can help with. I think I started I think I started at the time when my kids went to public schools. So there are many issues that to help the teachers in the classroom. And there are many students who from the low income or minority communities that need so much help. So I think I just gradually being involved in all those issues and trying to help the people who have food insecurity, who help the refugee families who are facing all sorts of crises in their lives. I think that through all these involvement and through those interactions with all different branches of different sections of our local community, I really feel like there is great needs that we, even though that we're not born in this country, we're not local, we're not a native in our local community, but there's so much things that we can do. And there are lots of resources in Asian American communities, actually. So when I step out of my small circle, I am able to be like the ambassador to introduce the Asian American community to the larger local community, and also bring the opportunities and also the needs from local community to the Asian American community, and ask the question of what we can do to support our local community. What we can do to help to be part of the solution. I think through that kind of work, I feel like really connected, not just to someone that has been uprooted from my native country and into this new environment. I feel like it's very hard for me to involve and always like stay in the peripheral of the society. I just feel this connection and a belonging. I think it's extremely fulfilling for me, myself. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that APACS always encourages people is to be active citizens wherever they feel most aligned in regards to whether it's their community or subject or issue that they most care about. Mm-hmm. And I think you are a perfect example of someone who decided to make their home into a part of their everyday life and really engage in ways that really made you an active citizen, because you were interested in taking more of a vested interest with the things that your children were doing at school, and working, volunteering at the PTA, and doing things that really put you in a more visible place, seeing that you were out there doing a lot of the work to support a larger cause. Mm-hmm. And so that is one of the things that we do encourage at APACS, is that when you want to figure out what you want to do and how you want to be supportive of a larger community as a whole, finding the things that you're most passionate about and you care about, how does it directly affect you? And in your case, because you're a parent, you wanted to see your volunteer time affect, in a positive way on the things that your children were experiencing. So, when you do this role now as an elected official, you're out in the public a little bit more and have a little bit more responsibility as a representative. How has that affected your personal private time and how you engage with your constituents when you're out in the public?
Well, I think there is a significant shift in the way that, so before I ran for council, of course, I worked with many organizations and many volunteer groups. So I think that I do feel like there are lots of things that I can do to help the community. But serving in this official role as a council member does make me feel like there are lots of things that it is very challenging for the local community. There's so much needs. I think it's my first time that I fully understand that local government, how a local government works, how much responsibilities are involved. I think that in those public hearings, we see the kids that are coming forward to say, if what's the impact of that development project is going to have on them. Like they're worried about next month whether or not they have a place to stay. We have the small restaurants, especially during the pandemic. There are the businesses who have been operating in the town of Chapel Hill for 20 or 30 years and facing the prospect that they're not going to be able to make it next month or next week. So I think I just feel a lot of responsibilities that I need to do something. So I think serving as a council member, of course, is extremely time consuming. It's almost, there is no limit of how much time that you need to spend on it. I always have this commitment to the community and say that if there is anyone who wants to reach to me, my phone number is here, and I always open to you to talk to you and come to you to understand what your needs are. So I think in that regard, it's extremely demanding. I would say serving on the council seat is very, very demanding. But on the other hand, I just feel like it's my first time. I feel I'm not like a guest of our local community. It's not someone that just as an immigrant. A lot of people say that they do not feel that sense of belonging. By serving on the council, Chapel Hill Town Council, I really feel like I'm a part of the community. I work together with other council members to try to steer the direction the whole town is going. I think it's a tremendous amount of responsibility that I feel.
Yes, it's definitely one where you don't necessarily always get to turn it off when you're elected. So and so it is some advice that we have heard from folks to put some bumpers and boundaries on your schedule to allow you to have the time to be able to provide yourself with the things that you need to recharge, so that you are as capable as possible to go out there and to support your constituents.
Right, it's always a continuous learning process. I think for me, I think this by serving on this council, it just opened up a whole new sphere of the learning opportunities. So for me, I just feel like it's a fulfilling, because the whole process, almost every day, I'm learning new things and expanding my understanding of our local community, and the fact that I'm able to bring positive changes and trying to help people to solve their problems, I think by itself is very fulfilling.
So as you're talking about, learning something new every day in your current role, when you first ran, what did you learn that you didn't know that you needed as a candidate?
Yeah, well, I think before I was involved in the government, I think I think a lot of people would think that the solution is so clear. Just this is right, this is wrong, like everything's black and white, like right or wrong, that kind of situation. And I think that I spent a lot of time complaining about the operations of the government, but by being part of it, by like really get into the inside of it to understand how the things that work, how these issues actually are interconnected with each other, I feel like I can appreciate how complex those issues are. A lot of times we're forced to make the decisions that is choosing like there's no perfect solutions. There is no solution that no amount of research or analysis can give you this one single solution, say this is the only right solution. A lot of times it's about consensus building, it's about give and take, it's about the compromise. So you can say that part of it is kind of frustrating, because you can never get the perfect solution that when you get into, or before you get into the council, that you hope you can accomplish. But serving in this government, you really feel there's tremendous amount of responsibility. Whatever decision that you make, you may be like, you may be helping one group of the people, but at the other hand, on the other hand, maybe bringing a hardship to another group of people. So how are you going to balancing these two, or you are trying to bring the more affordable housings to the community, but on the other hand, it may bring some more traffic issues. So almost, I don't think I have involved in any decision that's 100% supported by the whole community. It's never like that. So I think I really appreciated that, how much work and how much talent that actually is needed in our local government. So I think throughout the process, I have been reaching out to like the UNC community. A lot of faculties are doing great work at the UNC. So I think I happen to have connections with them. So I always try to get them engaged and get them involved and being part of the solution. And I always spend time to talk to UNC students, the graduate students, and trying to encourage the young people to see the value and the meaning for public service. So I think all these things are very important. The politics is always local, and I believe that even though there are lots of challenges that we see at the state and the national level, I fully believe the positive changes that starts at local government.
When you ran for office, what were your most challenging moments as a candidate?
Well, I think there are lots of very challenging moments. I think when I get started, well, of course, a lot of people do not know me, even though I'm very active in the PTA community. I'm very active in the arts and cultural community, but still, for the vast majority of the people in this town, they do not know me. There are people that are coming to me say that I need to change my name, like Hongbin is too strange for any voter to support me because simply because of this name. And I have people that posted on social media like Twitter and Facebook and say that why do we need a free foreigner to be a leader of our community? So I have my volunteers that are being like yelled at, like going back to China or being spat on, and all that happened during my campaign. So I think that a lot of things probably they are just under the surface to begin with, but for me to step out and to put myself in that spotlight really revealed a lot of the racism that in our community. And I think to experience that firsthand is challenging. I think I remember that I cried for many of those situations. Just I didn't expect that how hard it is. So a lot of times that I can understand that for someone to take this large step and say I want to be part of in this public figure, I think it's a very giant step for you to take. So I think for anyone who feel this passion to serve the public, that part they need to prepare themselves as well. But I have heard many people, I mean, in our community, they say that they have observed me through the 4 years. They say that they have seen my growth through that 4 years. And I think, but I think the fact that I have gone through all that really connect me with many other people in this community when they say that how they experience racism and the discrimination in our local community. So I think part of it, it's just it's prepare me to be ready for this position.
So what would be your 3 top tips to an AAPI woman to run for office? What 3 things would you tell that individual on how to best prepare?
I think to prepare, the first is, I think you need to know yourself, like be true to yourself. You need to understand that who you are, why you're passionate about this. Is this something or what you want to accomplish? I think that is very, very important, because I feel like I have been forced to go back and answer those key questions throughout the campaign and throughout the time that when I'm serving on the council. Because I think it is very challenging to go through the campaign and serving on the council. A lot of times you need to go back to the fundamental and ask yourself like who you are, why do you do this? What are the goals that you are trying to accomplish? So I think, so this is the first thing I believe that is most important for anyone who think that they want to get into this public service role. The second, I think, actually, I believe that you really need to get engage with the local community. So whatever that you can do to, like, either serving on the PTA or serving on the homeless shelter, or helping with other nonprofit organizations, whatever that you can do to prepare yourself for this role, I think will be very, very important. Many, I mean, at the town and the county level, there are commissions and advisory boards. I think it will be tremendously beneficial if you can sign up for those advisory boards or commissions, and to know how the local government functions, what kind of issues are being discussed and debated in those advisory boards. I think that will be tremendously helpful. And of course, the third is, I think that, so I talked a lot of the challenges and the barriers, but on the other hand, I truly believe that it is doable. So you need to, after you get to know your local community, you will be inspired how much goodwill is that. I believe that American society and American people are fundamentally good. Of course, we have different opinions on lots of things. A lot of times that when you look at the national news, it's kind of depressing. But on the other hand, if you really know the people, you know the people from all different areas and the circles, I truly believe that everyone is fundamentally good. So you need to have that confidence when you get into this and not being daunted. So when you are experiencing those setbacks or discrimination and all that, you need to have the faith in your local community, in this country, and in our democratic system, and say that, you know, if you have a good heart, with good intention, with all the skills and the trainings that you had in the past, you can prevail. A lot of people that just don't see that how could make this happen. Well, I think that if I can do it, anyone else can do it. I truly believe that. So you just need to be open-minded. I never ran a campaign. When I get into it, I have absolutely no idea how a political campaign is ran. But if you're open-minded and ready to learn from your mistakes and be kind and you know, bring this humanity into what you're doing, I think people actually can see. That is something I feel very amazing. So people can see, they can sense your authenticity. So do not think that there are the things that you do not know how to do. Have the faith and you can actually do it.
Such excellent advice. Thank you so much, Councilmember, for those tips.